gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for August 26th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game S Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Star Wars Outlaws reviews are in. Nintendo announced that rumored direct. And when is the next PlayStation State of Play? Well, you might find out here. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Best Mornings. It's Emma Fyffe, everybody. Emma, how are you doing?
I'm just, I'm great. I went to the beach yesterday and unfortunately I fell asleep in the sun. So you know how that goes.
Yeah, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, so I'm so psychotic about sunscreen that I feel like it is a personal failing that I got a sunburn.
I can see that being very frustrating for you, the most responsible person I've ever met, to be like, oh no, I slipped. What's wrong with me? Don't beat yourself up. We all make mistakes. But I understand that frustration. I know what you're getting at there.
Yeah. Yes. And I also wore one of those, this is funny. I wore one of those bikini bottoms that doesn't fully cover your butt. So I have a sunburn on my butt.
Yep. There it is, everybody. Well, I mean, listen, it happens to the best of us. I mean, so you were laying on your tummy? Is that what was happening? You were laying.
Yeah. So I love nothing more than to sit on the beach and read.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had I live in California. This is totally legal. I had a very small dose cannabis soda, and I'm just sitting in my beach chair, reading my book. And then I start to get a little sleepy, and I'm like, feels so nice and warm in the sun. Beautiful, beautiful day yesterday in Malibu, California. And so then I was like, I'm just going to lay down and take a little nap. My little nap was closer to 2 hours.
Okay. Scott, looking at your face, you don't look sunburned or anything.
No, my front side of my body's totally fine. I fell asleep on my stomach. Yeah.
Well, tell you what, if you would have just waited one more day, the bees would have protected you. We protect the hive, and the bees protect us on Bee Week here at Giant Bomb. People are wondering, Jeff, what's Bee Week? You know what it is. It's in the name. It's Bee Week. There's a shirt in the store. There's actually a shirt and a crew neck sweater. It says Bee Week and then 2024 in Roman numerals.
Bee Week merch in the store. I looked.
Is there more Bee Week merch? Is there more?
I feel like there was more, maybe, but I could be wrong. I feel like there was a hat. It was good. There's a good offering of Bee Week merch.
We also, there's a lot of this summer collection stuff. Like I've said before, Sean's got a list of things that we've been saying, hey, we want to do this for Bee Week. I am realizing I will get Buck Bumble running on the Parsec PC, and we'll do some multiplayer matches, because I think that kind of has just a Star Fox multiplayer shooter thing built into it that I've never ever tried. I think that's right. At the very least, I know it has some multiplayer, so we'll play that. I think it has multiplayer, Sean. I looked it up. I thought it did. But either way, we'll play a whole bunch. I mean, we're clearly going to play Buck Bumble, but there's a whole other a list of B game stuff that we're going to do. It's going to be fun. Everyone should celebrate, though. Be straight buzzing with us. It's going to be a good time. Straight buzzing. Everyone's back from Germany, slowly but surely, or they're getting back. I know Jam was traveling this morning. He went. I think he he went to Germany and then immediately had to get home to do some stuff with his family and stuff like that. So he's been busy. Sean and Mike went to AEW's All In Wembley Stadium in London after Germany. So everyone's going to be pretty tuckered out. But
did see that.
I think they will be reinvigorated by the bees. If not, we'll send the bees at them, and then they won't have a choice. How's it going otherwise? You playing any new games, anything like that?
I just play Fields of Mystria. That's all I do.
Did I say Sean? I meant Dan and Mike. Whatever.
Yeah, Dan and Mike.
Yeah, sorry, God. But it's I'm kind of finally can talk about Star Wars Outlaws. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. That's been pretty fun. It's been pretty solid.
It looks pretty fun.
Yes, I mean it looks. If what you want to do is walk around a world that is teeming with Star Wars visuals that look very good and look immersive, this is going to be it for you. And they let you explore that on your own terms, which is kind of the best thing they can do in that situation, I think. in terms of like what they have. Like they could do a lot more with it. Again, I'll talk about it once we start getting into the reviews. But you know, for what they scoped this game to be, they kind of nailed that side of things. You know what? Let's get into it. Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Star Wars Outlaws. Reviews are in. It has a 77 on PS5. On Metacritic, it's a little bit lower on some of the other platforms. PC seems to be kind of like the 73-ish range, although it's got a couple, like one review that's like a 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 that seems to be weighing it down with not as many reviews to pick it back up. But yeah, high 70s, which is kind of like, that sounds about right for a game like this trying to come out and find its footing. Morgan Park from PC Gamer gave it a 73 out of 100, said Star Wars Outlaws is Ubisoft's most ambitious game in years, but it plays the basics way too safe. Gareth Chadwick at the 6-axis gave it an 8 out of 10. Star Wars Outlaws is an open world scoundrel up that clearly builds on Ubisoft's familiar format, but that's not a bad thing. The rep system in particular is interesting as the constant fluctuations belie any kind of loyalty you might show otherwise. But most importantly, this game lets you just be in the enduring Star Wars universe. It's not perfect, but stealing for crime syndicates, fighting the Empire, speeding across alien landscapes, and so much more is a dream come true. And then Chris Tapsell at Eurogamer gave it a 2 out of 5, says, Massive bravely peels away the many layers of Ubisoft's open world isms in Star Wars Outlaws, and that's a fatal error. I have spent I'm getting like nearish 10 hours with the game. I got it last Monday, was very busy. Everyone being out of town, didn't leave a lot of time during the day to play stuff. And then at night, it was like the first week of school. So I got a few hours in here or there. And then over the weekend, I played about 5 more hours. And I enjoy it so far. It is, I would say this is a good game that you can clearly see all the ways in which it's not a great game. And a lot of that comes down to, well, you know, what kind of game is it? It's a stealth action game. It's a stealth game. Almost all of the missions that you're going to be doing on foot, main story missions, side quest, it's going to involve you sneaking around, trying to get into places. And, you know, we've had a lot of stealth games. It's like more than serviceable. It's fine, but there's not a lot going on in that mechanic. It is hide behind this thing. When the guard walks past, walk behind them, make sure that you're crouching so they don't hear you. And then occasionally you can use Nyx, your alien animal, super smart companion, to either cause a distraction, to go steal something off a guard, to go pick something up. It's almost like a take on the Watch Dogs phone a little bit, where it's like you can look around the world and then like there's a little line that shows, okay, now you can interact with this thing. Well, Nyx can do that. And but even that's like not super expansive. Now I'm still early. Maybe I get more abilities, but it seems like the foundation of the stealth here is it's the basics. It's not like you're going to be swapping out costumes to try to blend in. Like you're not going to be walking around in a stormtrooper outfit and stuff like that.
You don't ever disguise yourself as a stormtrooper. I was going to say, to me, a stealth game in Star Wars sounds challenging because, you know, there just aren't enough cardboard boxes laying around in Star Wars.
Yep. Right. I mean, and so what they end up doing is don't mess around with any of that stuff. It is just basically a walk behind the guard game. I think everyone kind of understands what I mean there. And that is what you're going to be doing. And it's fine because like that is.
And there's no like, oh, maybe I can sweet talk the guard. You literally just have to hide from the guards.
The game will give you opportunities that it scripts for that, and then and then of course there is as you are improving your character, and the way the improvement system works is you'll find these special trainer people in the world that can like show you paths to improve yourself. And one of the first people, actually the first person, is your like surrogate, like foster father, and he and he's been a scoundrel too, and he can like teach you to be like, okay, if you're about to be arrested, if you're about to be caught, you can then sweet talk for a second, and this is an automated thing. It's not like a branching
Oh,
dialogue tree.
okay.
And that gives you a second to maybe either stun them or maybe run away.
Sure.
It just kind of gives a little pause. Now you can then level that up and do even more with it and stuff like that. And I'm in the process of doing that.
Was part of a live play RPG Star Wars game for almost 2 years. That was 2017, 2018. And just looking at Kay, I'm like, she looks kind of like Kilara, the character that I played. And I very specifically played a character who, like, I didn't really have combat. I didn't really have combat skills, but I was very charming. So I think for me, it's like I guess that I would love to see a Star Wars where you get to have a little more freedom in terms of like the choices that you're making. And it sounds like this is not, I mean, not that this is like being touted as a role-playing game, but
yeah, but the suggestion is there by giving you the world, right?
So exactly.
Your choices here are sneak in, or if you want to start blasting, you could start blasting, and you're almost certainly going to be able to blast your way through things. If you want to play this as a shooter, I think the shooting mechanics are also pretty serviceable, if good in some circumstances. Either way, it's like these things they serve the bigger purpose, which is to make you feel like you're living in the Star Wars universe.
Sure.
And that's where it's like the lack of options is more noticeable, because the world, it is suggested by the world because the world is so Star Wars, realistic. It feels like they just nailed the look and the vibe, the music.
Sure.
It's all that stuff is very good. So you are going to be walking through corridors, and the smoke or the steam's going to be coming through the grates, and the aliens are going to be cooking over there, and then you're going to
everything's
you can see the
powered
shimmering
by
of the
Tabana
heat.
gas.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, and you can. There's some more aliens over there in the corner playing sabacc, and it's all these things are happening. And what is my input into that? Almost always nothing. It
nothing.
is
yeah,
very
you just kind
limited.
Of exist. Yeah.
It is set dressing. It's all set dressing. Now you can play sabacc at the dedicated sabacc tables the game allows you to play at. You can't just walk up anywhere and start playing. And I mean, I get this to a certain extent. What this feels like is they probably did have big ideas, scoped out bigger ideas. And they're like, you scale back, you scale back, you scale back. And here we are, a game that is very limited in a lot of ways. And yet I feel still like it's, if we look at this in terms of the lineage of Star Wars games, this feels right in line with a lot of other ones that people really enjoy. I think if you are someone that could forgive Force Awakens for some of its stuff, or no, the Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed, Unleashed.
Or Shadows of the Empire, or any number of these games, Star Wars Bounty Hunters. These are games that like have a lot of flaws, but the Star Wars stuff kind of puts it over the top a little bit. Same thing is happening here, and I'm gonna keep playing it. I'm enjoying it that much. It's also just like once you do get like your speeder bike upgraded and your ship working, and you start traveling from planet to planet, and then you start exploring the planets. It's not like you're enclosed. You could just go roam anywhere, find cool stuff to do, and the cool stuff is going to be
Star Wars stuff.
and it's going to be shoot stuff or sneak stuff. Like that's
okay.
And then occasionally it's gonna like play cards, or you're going in your ship into space and you're like blowing up some stuff and collecting cargo and things like that. But whatever, that the basics of the gameplay interactions, while very limited, they don't get in the way of enjoying the best part of the game, which is the way it looks and the way it feels and the way it sounds. So I feel like easy recommendation for Star Wars fans is where I'm at. And then if you are someone who's like, I like open world games, I think there's a chance this could get you. But it's like, honestly, I think I would almost recommend that Avatar game more than this for just general open world fans. Even that is kind of in the same boat in a lot of terms of its quality overall.
I mean, my question is, do you ever have to climb up a tower and send your little cat friend, flying around to get the lay of the land?
Yeah, so nothing. I haven't really done anything similar to that yet. Maybe there's stuff that's like the allegory to that I'm like thinking of, but no, it's much more like, hey, go talk to this scoundrel in this faction, and they're going to give you a mission, and that's going to lead you to bump into some of these other scoundrels from these other factions, and then they're going to be playing you against one another, and you could play them against one another. The faction system is the thing where it's like, I still feel like I'm kind of too early to know fully if this is leading to more fun for me, because there are 3 or 4 factions. There might be a 4th that gets introduced later, but right now I got the 3. It's the Hutts, Crimson Dawn, and the Pikes. And I am currently, the Pikes could not hate me more. I have the lowest possible reputation with them because I've been like min-maxing. I'm like, I will just always choose against the Pikes and go with Crimson Dawn when given the option, and I'll avoid the Hutts where possible. And as you get to like higher tiers of trustworthiness with one of these crews, you unlock some bonuses and things like that, and you get like a discount at their store.
Nice.
But it's like, okay, so I'll go do a Crimson Dawn mission, and now like, but the Pikes hate me, so they're kind of shooting me on sight. They're chasing me down a lot more than they would. They're sending a lot of people after me. I overheard a conversation at one of the shops and this is like one of the things that makes the world feel slightly more alive. Overheard a conversation between 2 Pikes saying, "I can't believe the boss keeps letting her get away with this. We need to kill her." And they're talking about me, and it's like that's cool. I just, okay, so the Pikes hate me. The Crimson Dawn loves me. I'm getting discounts in the Crimson Dawn store. There's some vendors that belong to the Pikes that won't even let me shop there. What else is happening here? And I get the sense that there probably is more happening, but this being the main sort of interaction with the world and how the world pushes back on you, it feels like, okay, if they only had the scope and the budget to be able to pull out one of these things off, this feels like a decent way of expressing that. But it doesn't feel like a mind-blowing or like, God, I can't wait to see what happens next with the faction system, at least early on. We'll see.
All right.
Next, any chance you'll try it out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about it. I like Star Wars, so like to me, and again, like, I think I've probably stated this before, that I love not Jedi Star Wars, so this feels very much like a game that is for me.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I'm curious to give it a go.
Yep. All right. Let's see here. Next story: Nintendo Indie World Showcase / Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase is set for August 27th. That's tomorrow, everybody. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. Nintendo will host a Nintendo Indie World Showcase, followed directly by a Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase on August 27th at 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Eastern. The company announced both presentations combined will be roughly 40 minutes in length. You will be able to watch it on YouTube, Nintendo.com, blah, 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 all those other places. According to Nintendo, there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during either of these presentations, which, kind of seems like they'll just have a special thing for that. It is not too surprising, other than like maybe they usually do a direct in September, so end of August, but whatever. Timelines are what they are. And there is PAX this weekend, so getting this done now, so maybe they can have some stuff at a booth on behalf of their partners. I don't know, maybe. I do know Nintendo's supposed to have some presence at PAX West. They are. Nintendo of America is in Seattle.
Based in Seattle.
Right,
so,
exactly. Yeah. That said, everyone's asking, is this where we get a Hollow Knight Silk Song? We ask it every time, Emma.
Oh, yeah. No. I refuse to believe that game exists at this point.
Fake game.
Yeah, it's not a real game. I mean, gosh. What if I just very boldly say, absolutely, they're going to close the showcase with it for the indie partners, and it's going to be a big to do. I'm gonna go bold, and I'm gonna say absolutely.
Okay, there it is, everybody. You heard it confirmed right here. Hollow Knight Silk Song, Spoon Heaven, whatever I called it that one time, will be at Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, or maybe the Indie World Showcase. Seems too big for the Indie World Showcase, but also seems too big for a partner showcase at this point.
That's actually, Dresh in chat points out something very good, which is that they gave a big disclaimer about Switch 2, but no disclaimer about Silksong, which Keeley did give a disclaimer about Silksong during Gamescom. So I'm just saying.
Miyamoto coming out and being like, there is no Silksong, like he should have to do that. He probably doesn't even
Only
know
more Mario.
Yeah. I mean, Partner Direct, Indie World Showcase, I always enjoy these things, but I'm like, I wonder if there will be even like, those Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remasters. I would love those to pop up, but it's like, this is a partner showcase. Does that mean that won't be there? It doesn't necessarily mean something like that won't be there, but probably not. So what are your hopes for a show like this? Anything that's like, caught your eye or that you're hoping to see at a partner showcase?
I mean, at a partner showcase.
Yeah, the Nintendo partner showcase, or even the Indie World showcase, either one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, to me, like, Indie World is some of the most interesting stuff that Nintendo does, and I'll say this, that I think that Nintendo is doing a good job of getting a bunch of these indies like very big attention in ways that they wouldn't necessarily as much if they were only available on PC.
Right.
I have a lot of friends who have Switches, but they don't have gaming PCs. That's not their thing. And the other thing that's really great about Nintendo and the indie games being available on Switch is the way that they get to the audience in Japan, which is still more of a console market than it is a PC market. So like, for example, once Hades got released in Japan, that's when we started getting all the good fan art from the Japanese artists.
For sure.
So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I have lots of friends that, played original Hades on Switch who are just waiting for it to get its official Hades 2 to get its official release on, the Switch forthcoming, which I'm sure that it will. And, then obviously like things like what I'm playing right now, Fields of Mystria, that is a perfect Switch game.
Right.
Switch is just a great place for those like those like farming sim type games that also have romance and 90s anime art. So yeah.
I think that Nintendo is well aware of all those factors that you listed there, and that they always kind of take advantage of that in these situations. And part of it is, I think they would love to have another Nintendo Direct, but they like a full one, not like just a partner showcase. But I think it feels like they've announced everything they can kind of talk about up until this point, until the Switch 2 is confirmed. I guess, I mean, there are a bunch of exceptions that people always point to, like, hey, that Fire Emblem remake that has been rumored to be done for a very long time, and the Metroid Prime stuff. But
yes,
I don't know. It feels like they're just not going to do that in this moment. So instead, we get the partner showcase, and the partner people still show up to watch these things. The partners get a huge advantage from that. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, in terms of things that could be there, next story is EA lists MySims for Nintendo Switch on its website ahead of an official announcement. This is from My Nintendo News. EA has listed the unannounced version of MySims for the Nintendo Switch on its official website ahead of the game's official announcement. As you can see at the link, the game is listed on the company's page for Nintendo Switch titles it has developed. MySims was originally a spin-off of the hugely popular The Sims franchise and was released on the Wii and Nintendo DS back in 2007. I think it was also on some other platforms, but definitely like was their Nintendo first version of The Sims. We had a story about this last week, and it was like, oh yeah, that'll probably show up somewhere. It's probably going to be at this partner showcase now. That makes a lot of sense. And EA kind of like sneaking back to the Nintendo house at the end of the Switch generation, so they can be like, yeah, we love supporting the Switch right as the Switch 2 is about to launch, and could have a lot more support from EA. That also makes some sense. Anything else? Like, first of all, did you ever play MySims? Those are games I never touched.
No, I've never played MySims. I've only played regular Sims on the PC.
Yeah, same. And MySims always was like, oh yeah, okay, maybe it seems like a good thing for kids. And Switch has a lot of players who are younger, so that makes sense now.
Yeah.
It also feels like EA recognizing that, hey, the Sims 5 coming along here is going to serve that audience in a huge way. There are clearly, like, we could do a lot more with this franchise if we branched out. Maybe they are getting ready to do a lot more spin-offs of the Sims again, or even a handful more spin-offs. Like at one point, when it came to the heyday of these spin-offs, there was a ton of them. There were several MySims agents and all these like variations on those themes. And so, having it come back and be like, oh, maybe we'll just do MySims next to The Sims, and those two things can coexist and kind of touch on different audiences.
Do we know if the like MySims, because again, I have not played MySims, like this is going to sound very strange, but are the stakes lower than The Sims? Like in MySims, can you take the ladder out of the pool and drown your Sims? You know what I mean?
Is it even Sims if you can't do that? I think my impression is that the stakes are lower. Yeah. It's a little bit more playful.
Sure. Well, I just asked that because there's this whole subgenre of TikTok that is
Sims torture.
No, I was actually gonna say the opposite about Switch. That's like cute girls talking about cozy Switch games, and it feels like a Sims type game could fall very well into that category. It would just need to have a little bit of that like cute factor.
I think that this is EA getting ready to be like, that audience is on the Switch, and then the next thing they're going to get is probably going to be a Switch 2. So we should be there because we see so for the last 5, 6, 7 years, these companies have been like, oh my God, where is the next wave of growth going to come from? And I'll say that we did a pretty good job fooling these companies to be like, hey, make a bunch of stuff for us and we're going to buy it all, we promise. And then we started just playing 2 or 3 games and nothing else sold. And hey, they made those games, so we got to play them if we wanted to, and they're just sitting there, and a bunch of people are going to discover a lot of the stuff they missed in the next couple of years and be like, hey, why was no one ever talking about this? And it's because we just like got tunnel vision. I think, and Sony was like, hey, we're going to make a bunch of these live service games to try to get more money out of that audience that we know spends money on our games. These bros that are out there playing, look how much money and time they spend on Call of Duty. Let's get them doing that in one of our games. And yeah, that's probably not going to work. It clearly is not working for Concord. But there's a whole audience out there of people that like have slightly different tastes.
Yeah.
And maybe they will show up on your stuff if you like put out games for them. And I think EA is like recognizing, as much success as we've had with The Sims, we have left a lot of money on the table. And I think that they are ramping up to be like, the growth is going to come from women. I think in a lot of for especially for a company like EA that has the ability to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that they are going to be like, did you see that In Zoe game that was in Gamescom's opening night live?
No. Oh, yes.
Very realistic looking Sims.
Yes.
It feels like something like that could also come in and swoop in and eat a lot of the lunch, but also I mean, I think the Sims will be just fine.
But again, I was going to say it. I mean, Sims, you also already have the brand recognition.
Right. Yes. And people are like going to have nostalgia at this point for that. Yes. It's been around for so long. But it feels like that space could get crowded very quickly if people come in and rush in there and take it over. Do you think something like MySims has juice to sort of be like, okay, well, it's for younger players, but it is cutesy, harmless, fun, playful. Do you think that's the kind of juice that plays well in that space?
I do. I think that's definitely the juice that plays well in that space. Enough so that if that is the buzz around it, that it's like, this is The Sims, but because it's, younger player friendly, that puts it in the territory of lower stakes. The big thing you need is repetitive actions. That puts it in the like cozy space, so to speak. And I think that, if you're in that kind of situation, that you're going to attract an audience to at least give it a go. And then if it starts to get the word of mouth, then I mean, as you say, like, these are games that are very, very popular with women. And also I find, with the queer community, and they are leaving a lot on the table by not, reaching into that absolutely massive Nintendo Switch audience. So to me, this makes a lot of sense.
Yep. All right. We got a lot more headlines to get to, but first we're going to take a quick break. We'll get to all of those right after this. All right, let's get into it here. Amazon says it plans to develop games for the Switch successor. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. A new Nintendo generation is on the horizon, and it appears the publishing giant Amazon Games could potentially be releasing its titles on the Switch successor going forward. Speaking to IGN recently, Amazon Games CEO Christoph Hartmann mentioned how the Switch had been a fantastic product during its life cycle, and the plan for Amazon in the future is to apparently develop more, games for Nintendo's next system. Hartmann is also personally happy to wait a little bit longer for Nintendo's new device rather than see the product rush to market, blah, blah, blah. We talked a little bit about this before, but kind of wanted to like check in with you and then say like, hey, are there any Amazon games that come to mind that you want to see on Switch too? Because for me, it's like, it is nice to say this. I think a lot of these companies are going to line up and be like, we should have our stuff on Switch too. But that is like, okay, does that mean the New World, that MMO? Is that what you're thinking? What do you think?
Yeah, that's the only Amazon game I can really think of.
Well, as chat points out, they are working with Crystal Dynamics to make that Tomb Raider game. That's got to be years off still, I would imagine.
Yeah. So, and I don't think of Switch as being the like Tomb Raider audience per se.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if Tomb Raider's everywhere, but yeah, you're right.
Absolutely.
I agree. I agree with you that you're right though. So I think this might speak to when these companies are looking around and they are like Amazon and they're like, okay, we did have some success with these MMOs. We've had, I don't know if it's success, but we've done this maneuver a bunch of times where we take a game that has been available in like Asia and we have localized it for the West and we released it there. And they did stuff like Blue Protocol and things like that. There's a handful of games like that. They would always be at Summer Game Fest. And I think we're like, okay, well, we've seen some results, but we want to do more. Where should we go to next? I think it's telling that Amazon's like, we're looking at Switch too. Like that's what we think is going to sell. Now, a big part of that is if you can get in there early and have a game ready to go, you can ride that wave at launch. Also, it is just new hardware, so it's intrinsically more interesting to a lot of people because it's unknown. But I don't know, do you think that companies like Amazon and even EA kind of saying similar stuff, do you think they can jump on that train and ride it and see some success?
I mean, look, if we kind of look at the history of console releases, going back to when the PlayStation launched, and this was around the time that the Sega Saturn launched. Yeah. And a huge part of the success of PlayStation was the fact that it did have all of these third-party titles ready to go. That's now the standard. Pretty much all of these companies have third-party titles because, again, it was like PlayStation at the time was working with companies like Namco to make sure that it was like they weren't just releasing first-party titles. Again, they didn't have first-party titles. This was a totally unknown entity. But yeah, I mean, look, if it is worth it, I think, to have titles ready to go at the launch of the Switch 2, even though you're never going to compete with, say, a new Mario or like the big pie in the sky dream, like a new Donkey Kong. When are we going to get that? But I mean, look, at this point, if you're not putting stuff on every single console, you're leaving money on the table, especially because historically, the Nintendo consoles, particularly the Switch, and I think certainly the Switch 2 as well, have had such incredible sales success. And again, it's that, and it's really brilliant on Nintendo's part that it's like it's the combo console. It's you can play this on your TV, you can play this handheld. They're obviously not going to ever move away from that. And so to people, that feels like a good value because it's a 2-in-1. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if necessarily they're going to make a big splash, but it doesn't surprise me at all that these companies that have previously not really had a big presence on the Nintendo consoles are making a bid for it at this point.
Yeah, and it's for as much as they've done a handful of games, and it's hard for me to imagine them be like, hey, here's a game that fits well on the Switch too. Doesn't mean it's like they haven't been working on something. Also, I think a lot of these companies are looking around and being like, man, as much as we see the infinite ceiling for a live service game when it takes off as being very enticing, and of course we want one of those, a bunch of these companies have had success by just putting out core action games for the core video game audience, and obviously, Stellar Blade and now Wukong being examples of that. And those are games that have done well globally, but Amazon has the reach to do well globally. And one of the ways you could be available in enough places to be considered a global video game release is be on Switch, because that will get you some fire in Japan and in the West. And that's beneficial. And I think Amazon, I think that's what like the underlying thing here is that a company like this is saying, hey, we might make games for like people that like are listening to this podcast more frequently than we have been. And yeah, I think that's something to be somewhat excited for, although we'll see. Amazon has not exactly put out a ton of stuff.
They have not exactly impressed me with the games that they have put out, but hey.
Next story, PS5 Pro was apparently an open secret at Gamescom. This is from Magnus Groth Anderson at Game Reactor. Although Sony has yet to make an official announcement about the PlayStation 5 Pro, it is still expected to do so within the next few months. And how do we know this? Well, because there have reportedly been plenty of developers talking about the console during the Gamescom trade show that took place last week. WCCF Tech says they spoke to at least one developer who not only knew about it but knew the specs, and an Italian multiplayer, the website, also spoke to several who actively knew about the platform. Everything points to the fact that studios large and small have been given access to dev kits, and that we won't have to wait very long for both a reveal and a launch. I'll say, last I heard, this thing's still coming out this year. And then more recently, what I've heard is there is probably going to be a state of play, a Sony PlayStation state of play, not a showcase, a state of play by the end of September. Let's do this one again. God, that was fun last time, Emma, where I was like, hey, the state of play is coming in this month. And then the month wasn't over and people were still like, well, where is it? Well, the month's not over.
Well, if Grubb says it's happening.
Let's do that exact same thing again. It's probably going to be late next month, September. But yeah, state of play. I don't know if the PlayStation 5 Pro is in this state of play, but where else would it be?
I agree with you.
Now, they could it could have its own thing, right, Emma? It could have its own thing, but I think state of play, end of September.
Yeah.
And then you sell this thing beginning in like October even, or maybe November. But this thing is going on sale this year. So that's honestly, end of September feels like maybe the latest they can get away with holding off an announcement on this. They might do that though, right?
Yeah, they might. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that the state of play, I think they opened with this, and then it's all about like showing the integrity of the upgraded specs, yada yada yada. You know,
absolutely.
I think that's it.
And in terms of the updated specs, what we've heard a bunch and seems to be continuously confirmed. A 45% performance improvement in rasterized rendering, which is like traditional how video games are displayed on a screen.
Yep.
And that's thanks to a larger GPU and faster memory. Probably going to have mostly the same CPU, might be upclocked a little bit, but it's going to be mostly the same CPU. It will also have hugely improved ray tracing architecture, delivering 2 to 3 times speed up on average, with peaks of 4x. Custom machine learning architecture that sports 300 TOPS at 8-bit to power the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. That's PSSR, which might sound similar to DLSS. That's because it is PlayStation's machine learning upres. That's going to take, I don't know if people remember when the PS4 Pro came out and we're like, okay, how's this doing 4K? That doesn't seem like it should be able to do that. And what it was doing was taking a checkerboard look at a game, and it was using temporal anti-aliasing to rebuild that image. Well, they're doing that, but amped up with machine learning this time. So it's like they know what the game's supposed to look like at 16K, and they can to use that information to take that temporal anti-aliasing, that checkerboard rendering of a game, and make it look even better this time. So, yeah. Cool. That all sounds pretty okay to me. I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws on the 4090, and that's been awesome to have all the bells and whistles turned on for that with ray tracing and frame generation and real-time lighting. That just looks incredible. And if the PS5 can get close to a lot of that stuff with the PS5 Pro, I should say, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But other details. I guess timing of release, Emma, price, all this other stuff.
Size of the console. Is it going to be the size of the computer in the 70s?
The PS5s they've had so far, they have not done a PS5 slim down version, right? They just had the slim down internals, I think.
I don't believe so, but I'm now going to verify PS5 Slim.
Yeah.
I think that's a buy PS5 Slim console. I mean,
that's right. No, the new one is slightly smaller. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, it is slightly smaller. Yes.
It was slightly, but it's not. Maybe doesn't qualify as a slim, but it is like reduced in size. So they did do that. Right. So maybe this thing kind of goes back up to being about as big as the standard PS5.
OG. Yeah.
Because now, to be fair, they have a ton of room in there now with the reduced motherboard size to add a bunch of cooling. But if they have to make that bigger again because they have a bigger GPU, we'll we'll see. The pricing for this, what are you thinking? I'm sticking to $600 for it.
Ooh, oh, I was gonna go higher.
Yeah, so higher is possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say 700, but that seems maybe like a lot.
It's a lot, but I mean,
Yeah.
okay. So the Xbox Series X 2 TB model that has the disk drive still just got announced to be $600. I think that Sony could match that price with the PS5 Pro and make that look very silly on Microsoft's part. But are they really? Is that really what like how you are positioning price still? If you're Sony, like, oh, what does it look like compared to Microsoft? Or are you doing the what can we get away with from the person that's likely to buy this thing? And the person that's likely to buy this thing, I think, does spend $700 on it.
I think so too. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with my like $700. Kind of.
You could split the difference. It could be $650, but man, or even like this feels like the one could be like $799 or like
$79,
like $680, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know, 700 does seem reasonable.
Because I mean, wasn't the PlayStation 5 more expensive than the Xbox Series X? I mean, certainly if you wanted to get it with the disc drive.
I think PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X at launch with like the full features, like the top tier model, those were both $500 at launch. And then the when they did the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, I think they both got to like, I think those were both like 500 as well. Either way, they've been hovering around that range for a while. They do these things because they want to get more money from the people that are most dedicated to spending money on the platform. And I don't know, $700 does seem, it seems on the table at the very least. I won't be surprised if it comes out and it's still 600. We'll see.
I think I remember when the next gen consoles were launching and I was hosting the Download at then, and we had this whole bet going on how much things were going to cost. And I will say, just from experience, that I tend to estimate high. So
yeah, well,
$649.
We'll see. I mean, I think we're probably going to find out pretty soon. Honestly, what could happen is they could announce the PS5 Pro here any day now, and then there's more details at the state of play. So
exactly,
probably that means pricing too. They probably have pricing at the state of play or at the end of September. So we'll see. I think that this means that this generation goes quite a bit longer as well, right? This is them trying to extend the length of the generation. I also think they kind of just do this because they're going through the motions. So like it worked last time, we could learn some lessons. Let's just do it. I think it's interesting that Microsoft is not doing it, not having an Xbox Pro model this generation. So I'm gonna be curious to see how it all plays out, but we'll find out here pretty soon how it's going to start.
Yep.
All right. Handful more stories. Valve officially announces Deadlock weeks after footage started to appear online. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Valve has officially announced Deadlock. The announcement follows weeks of discussion about the game and footage appearing across social media. The multiplayer title, which has been a friends and family closed beta for some time, now has an official store page on Steam. Deadlock is a 6v6 third-person hero shooter. Valve warns that the game is still in early development and that the current build of Deadlock contains lots of temporary art and experimental gameplay. The game's store page features a brief trailer and one piece of concept art. Players can currently only gain access to the game if they're invited by someone currently involved in the playtest. But that spread very fast to the point where there were like tens of thousands of people playing when the game wasn't even announced yet. But on Friday, they finally confirmed it. Here it is. Weird that wasn't like paired with, and now here's like an open beta, I guess. Yeah. But I guess, hey, now people can openly discuss it either way. I have played some Deadlock, and I think it's a pretty good game. It is MOBA. It's MOBA. It be MOBA. Very hard MOBA. Where there are lanes and creeps and minions, whatever they call them, ads, and you just you just go in there and you need to build your economy. You want to be getting as many kills as possible so you can go back and improve your character and unlock more abilities. And then you come back and do some more skirmishes, and you're trying to push on one lane while preventing an enemy from maybe pushing on another. There's a jungle between the lanes. It's just so MOBA. And I bet that is, I mean, now it's a first person shooter too. So it's
or third person. You can do either one.
You can do either one. Right. So it does feel different than a lot of MOBAs in some ways. But in terms of like what the action's like, it is very familiar to that genre.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of put hero shooter in the MOBA world instead. Cause like, I don't know, a lot of hero shooters, it's not that there isn't an element of capture the flag to MOBAs, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, fascinating. I have not played this game. I am not really into hero shooters or MOBAs, but I think that, Valve obviously has a pretty strong history of these big multiplayer battle kind of games. So I wouldn't be, I have a feeling that when this officially gets out in the world, that initially certainly it'll do quite well.
Oh yeah, it's going to be massive. Yeah, I enjoyed playing it. I just did. But yeah, I mean, if you are someone who's like, well, I've tried MOBAs and I tried Paragon and Smite and all these other things, and it's that again. It's especially similar to Smite, which is like the third person, like close to the action MOBA. Yeah. But all of the extra stuff is working for me. I enjoy the characters. There's one guy whose bio just says he is an asshole, and it's clearly placeholder.
And that's it?
Yes, it's clear. And they should never ever change it. It's really good. Yeah, yeah. In terms of like recommending or be like, you got to get into this. I think if you're someone who's going to be into this or not.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of that simple. All right. Sony's big new PS5 and PC game Concord got off to a very slow start. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Sony's latest big PlayStation 5 and PC game Concord launched on August 23rd after an estimated 8 years of development. The game did not, however, appear to put up big numbers at release, despite being generally well received by fans and critics. On Steam, Concord peaked at 697 concurrent users on launch day, August 23rd, and has fallen off since. PlayStation 5 player numbers are not publicly available, but Tweaktown discovered that Concord ranks at number 50 right now on the PS5 bestseller charts on the PlayStation Store. Holy shit. It's crazy. Okay. The reason, like we talked about this last week, bringing it up again, because it had the weekend now and it was fully released. So it's like, okay, this is the moment of truth. Maybe everyone was just waiting for this, and they weren't. No one was waiting for Concord. Not passing people pointed out that Gollum has a higher peak concurrent player number on Steam than this game ever has.
Great.
It's like, that's what we're talking about here. And I just am kind of in a little bit of shock and awe at like what I feel like shell shocked looking at this game, because we played it and I definitely was like, this is not for me. I am not enjoying myself. I think there's probably something here where if I force myself to keep playing, I will find some things to enjoy. And I did that a little bit. No. But when I got the chance to play anything else, I was taking it. Marvel Rivals, give me more of that. I was enjoying that.
That's what I was going to say, is that you have this largely generic and just like forgettable kind of shooter that you're putting out against Marvel Rivals, which has and again, like Marvel Rivals is not in full release. It was in beta.
That's right.
But that being said, you had the urgency of, it's a beta. We got to get in there and play while we can. And you've got the Marvel of it all, big brand recognition. And thirdly, people, word of mouth, Marvel Rivals, fun.
Yeah. And just low stakes, easy to get people in. We talk about this all the time, free to play, all that stuff.
Yeah.
This game's $40 though, Concord. And it did have like the weight of Sony put behind it. Like the whole idea here, and they said this publicly, but you can also just tell just looking at it was, we're going to make it a live service game, but this is going to be a Sony PlayStation first party live service shooter. So that means we are going to spend extra money on story segments and motion capture and all these bells and whistles to make it feel like this is something you could sink your teeth into and really, really love, and have similar feelings toward it that you might have toward any of our Sad Dad games or whatever. And it seems like if that did anything, it pushed people further away. Where they're like looking at this and be like, wait, what is this? This is a shooter with a story. I don't need that.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, is the people who are showing up. And look, like, I have a neighbor who loves Overwatch. She shows me every single Overwatch story short there is. She's very invested in that. However, she's not playing Overwatch for the story. Like, people who are playing these, like, shooter games, they're not there for the story. You know what I mean? Like, do make it what it's supposed to be. Nobody cares if you've spent the money on getting mocap and doing all this serious, crazy stuff. They just want to show up and have a shooter game with fun mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, the story that people are most going to be telling is, hey, I got a double, triple kill, whatever, and you should come in here, play this with me because I'm good at it and enjoy it, and I want someone that I could talk to while doing the fun stuff I was and I don't. It doesn't seem like Concord's missing any of that. So, like, what is it missing? Well, it might be missing the raw appeal of the way it looks. I think that the sort of the Pepsi challenge of it all is like, oh, this I'm just gonna take a quick sip of Concord and see. It's like, there are a lot of games that like are sweeter right away. And, again, I think people can grow to love some of these characters if they had time. No, but at $40, no one's like taking that risk. So, but it's like, honestly, I just can't get over the fact that no one is taking that risk. There was a time when you put out a game and people would just spend money on it out of a matter of course. And it feels like, okay, well, that's over for live service shooter games. If you are not bringing something that is very familiar, very free to play as hell, I don't know, and a handful of other factors, you should not be investing in this space, which, I mean, to me, it feels like people are going to be backing off of shooters in a big way after this. Is PlayStation going to back off of live service games in general after this? Because this is catastrophic, it feels like. Didn't we look it up as we were getting ready to play Killer Clowns on Friday? I feel like Sean looked it up, and it was, and granted, like, that was before the weekend, and it was dismal, because I was talking about how many hours people had played Fields of Mystria, and then the question was, well, let's talk about Concord, and there was just nothing to talk about because nobody's playing it. Yep, it's it's rough. I feel bad for everyone who worked on it. I really do. I'm like sitting looking at this thing being like, that's years of your life, and it feels like you made some wrong decisions making a game. Everybody does. But that's not like my first glance when I look at the game. I'm like, yeah, that looks like a video game. That looks like something that anyone plays. There's so many games where it's like, oh, people are playing that. Oh no, like 50,000 people are playing that game. Oh, I had no idea. And I look at this game and I don't see the difference really between this and that, other than the timing and the price, really. Okay, if you get those things wrong, you kind of come to the party late and you charge an entrance fee. This is the price you're going to pay. I just think that this causes a lot of reassessment across the industry for a lot of different games after this. So, yeah.
Yikes.
Also, I think it speaks to, like, can PlayStation sort of like manufacture a success in the way that like Nintendo can? And that seems to continue to be the difference between those two companies, where, Nintendo, I mean, let's put I think the closest point of comparison is maybe ARMS, and ARMS sold like at least 1 million copies, I think, if not more than that.
Yeah, it sold all right.
Yeah. And if they did like an ARMS 2, I wouldn't be surprised. And this doesn't feel anything close to that. So I don't know. All right. Let's see here. Last story. It's an annoying one. Everybody brace yourself. Spyro the Dragon may have appeared as a playable character in the now canceled Crash Bandicoot 5. This is from Alberto Garrido at Game Reactor. For many, the Crash Bandicoot games have been synonymous with PlayStation ever since Sony entered the console market. And following the release of Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time for PS4 in 2020, a small development team at Toys R Bob began to shape a 5th installment in the series. Unfortunately, as we all know today, that project was canceled by Activision Blizzard. But now we have a glimpse of what they were working on back then. YouTube channel Did You Know Gaming has shared a video chronicling the development of Crash 5, which, among other things, was to include Spyro the Dragon as a second playable character. The plot would involve the pair working together to prevent an interdimensional threat in which some of the best-known villains from both game series would return. That's fun. I know I could hear Mike in my head right now, be like, oh, great, more multiverse stuff. Well, that's just an excuse to get these kids together.
Multiverse stuff yet. No.
Yeah.
This, look, I'm tired. I'm as tired of multiverse stuff as anybody is.
This is just,
but like, this is a different situation.
This is Flintstones meets the Jetsons. This is just a crossover. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. This is just a crossover.
Yes. And God damn it, give us this. Like, what? It's not like Crash. The trilogy sold extremely well. It's not like Crash Bandicoot 4 failed. It also sold really well. It didn't sell as well as the trilogy, but it sold really well. And so did the Spyro trilogy, the collection that they remade there. And it's okay. Yep. Well, now put those things together for Crash 5, and it feels like it would have been. I don't know. It feels like it could have done really well. But Activision
people would have definitely bought this game.
Yes, they just want more stuff in Call of Duty. That's like $1 spent on Call of Duty is worth more to us than $1 spent anywhere else. And
great.
Yeah, great.
Well, can't wait for Spyro the Dragon to appear as a playable character in COD.
Yeah.
Spyro versus zombies.
Maybe you're onto something now. All right, let's do that. Okay, that does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll from last week. Have it right here. How do you feel about Obsidian targeting 30 frames per second for Avowed? 29% say I'm playing on PC, and that's me as well. 30% say it's frustrating, and 41% say it's fine. I think everyone should come around at this point in the generation. Just be like, hey, it's when this happens on console. If you're playing on console, you have options: either accept it or I always say that, and it's like, you know what? If you want to complain, you're allowed to complain. This is a free world. You're allowed to do that if you want. But I don't know. Does this bother you at all? 30 frames per second.
No, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, I don't know. I just like, I am one of those weirdos who like 30 FPS does not bother me. I always play on like performance instead of graphics. I'm a weirdo. But also I control the camera and I think of it as if I'm shooting a movie.
So
it's fine.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, you built up a way to deal with it. Yeah, sure. 30 frames per second is not even something to deal with. It's fine as long as it's locked. It is actually fine. But boy, 60 frames per second is a lot better. That's all. That's why I play on PC, and I still complain sometimes. So there you go. All right, I have a new poll question. We'll get to that in a second. In the meantime, though, Emma Fyffe, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you have going on, all that good stuff.
Okay, well, I'm at Emma Fyffe on social media, mostly just Instagram these days, though I do have a Twitter, but I don't think I've tweeted anything since my birthday, which was in March. I also don't go on Twitter, and it's a great way to be.
Sounds better.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. I'm in the Giant Bomb Discord, and I'm Emma Fyffe in there too. So if you really want to find me, that's the place.
There you go.
There's a great video that is up on GameSpot right now that we did for Black Myth Wukong, and it involves an actual monkey. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's also on the GameSpot YouTube. It's like called Challenge Accepted Black Myth Wukong, I think, but it's great. You should watch it. Bailey has to attempt to play Black Myth Wukong while a monkey is there with her. Her name is Squirt. She's very cute.
Squirt the monkey.
And then congrats to people who in the chat last week were excited about the first of the new season of Boss Fight books potentially being EverQuest. That is out in the world now. The Kickstarter is still going on. And so, Boss Fight books, they are announcing another book tomorrow, so get excited for that. I will say, the
Kickstarters, you said it started, right? It's going?
It started, yeah. Okay. It started last week. It's ongoing. Basically, the way that that Gabe's been running the past couple ones is he announces a new game, a new book every week for the month. So each book kind of gets its own like little week to shine. So there's going to be a new one announced tomorrow. And I will say it is a very beloved indie game.
All right. Very good.
That's my hint.
And and once again, if people want to check that stuff out, should they go to kickstarter.com/ or is there a Bitly link?
It's if you go to Boss Fight Books, just Google it. It'll come up. I know I should have a link. I'll bring a link next time.
Yeah, just go there. You'll be able to find it, everybody. Okay. Fantastic. New poll question. I have it right here. Actually, I think they posted already. Thank you, guys. Are you going to play Star Wars Outlaws? Yes. I'll wait for a sale. And no. Those are your three options. We'll get the results. Talk about it on Game Mess Mornings on Giant Bomb on Wednesday. Speaking of Giant Bomb, later today, we may have some stuff. Going to try to squeeze some things in, although I have to take my kiddo to therapy later. So I might be unavailable, but we'll make some stuff happen. It is B week though, so we're gonna have a lot of B stuff happening. Whether that's today or not, we'll find out. But we'll have things on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Tuesday might be a little hectic because we're gonna talk over that Nintendo Direct. We'll do that. We're gonna watch that. Should be fun. We'll do the Indie World Showcase as well, just back to back. Then we have the Bombcast. Maybe we could fit something else in somewhere. I don't know. No promises. But yeah, tune in for the rest of the week. It'll be B week. We'll Buck Bumble, the B game for Wii. It's all going to be happening. Everybody, look out! All right, Emma Fyffe, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you, Jeff Grubb.
Thank you so much. And then someone's asking if it's Blight Club week. I don't know. I think it could be. But those boys did just do a lot of traveling, and they're not back in the United States yet. So that might happen later today. But we gotta just let them get back to the swing of things, and then we'll see. But if we can't do a Blight Club, yes, we will do a B Light Club, everybody. So we'll figure something out. All right. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Bye.
Oh.